The stars burned distant and cold as Captain Vexar studied the shifting readings on his bridge display. His narrow yellow eyes gleamed with satisfaction while he tracked the faint signal crawling steadily across space. The human freighter had followed the same lane for 3 days, oblivious to the 12 Zeparian warships shadowing it through the void. Vexar's claws drummed lazily against the arm of his command chair as he considered how simple this hunt would be. Humans were fragile beings who preferred commerce to war. They built sluggish transports and stuffed them with precious cargo bound for their scattered colonies. The Zeparian fleets had struck dozens of human ships in recent months, never once meeting true opposition. The Shadowclaw's bridge vibrated with a hushed efficiency as the crew finalized the trap. Lieutenant Cax adjusted weapon calibrations, while Navigator Hextor charted the attack vectors. They had repeated this hunt many times against humans, and it always concluded the same. The prey capitulated quickly, pleading for mercy while the Zeparians emptied their holds. Ahead of them, the freighter Lucky Strike glided serenely. Her aging hull bore scars from countless journeys among the frontier colonies. Solar panels spread from her frame like metallic wings, while a lone plasma cannon hung uselessly beneath her prow. To any observer, she was precisely what she seemed, an old trader hauling farming machines to some remote world. On the Lucky Strike's bridge, Commander Jake Morrison stood hands clasped behind his back, watching the drifting stars across the viewport. A tall figure with dark hair and calm blue eyes, he carried an air of awareness that betrayed more than his disguise as a mere merchant. At the systems console, Chief Engineer Lisa Caney ran diagnostics labeled as cargo bay operations. In her 30s, with cropped red hair and deft hands, she moved with the precision of long practice. Her readings appeared routine, though certain systems drew far more power than they should. At communications, Ben Carter monitored frequencies with sharp focus. Young, brown-haired, his alert eyes overlooked nothing. The external array seemed typical, though concealed within its casing were devices no civilian craft would dare carry. In the compartment marked Medical Bay, Dr. Patricia Wells quietly prepared equipment disguised as common supplies, but meant for an entirely different role. Blonde hair tied back, she checked and rechecked her instruments with exacting care. 2. Systems that would soon reveal their true purpose. Tactical Officer Amy Rodriguez sat at what passed for a simple helm display. She was a composed woman with black hair and steady hands, showing no sign of unease despite the shadow of danger ahead. Her station looked ordinary, yet beneath the surface lay controls tied to weapons capable of reducing cities to ash. Morrison had anticipated the Zeparian strike for days. Intelligence dispatches had warned him of raiders prowling the sector, preying on human shipping. The Lucky Strike had been deployed here deliberately, meant to face them and deliver a lesson that others would not forget. Ahead stretched the asteroid field of Kepler 4042, a labyrinth of drifting stone and wreckage. It provided an ideal hunting ground, its massive rocks masking sensors and hiding movement from any distant observer. The Zeparians had chosen wisely, yet their planning held a fatal flaw. They believed the Lucky Strike to be nothing more than what she claimed. Morrison crossed the deck to Kane's post, studying her readouts. Every system was primed, awaiting his order. The ship's real strength lay hidden behind false walls and disguised as harmless freight gear. Countless hours had been devoted to ensuring she appeared defenseless while concealing her arsenal. Carter swiveled in his chair and offered Morrison a subtle nod. The Zeparian flotilla was tightening its noose, nearly ready to spring the trap. Their craft shifted into the typical predator formation, meant to hem in civilian vessels and terrify them into yielding. They thought they understood human merchants, their schedules, routes, and habits. They believed humans treasured profit, above defiance, and would yield before risking blood. Dozens of plundered freighters had confirmed that pattern. But the aliens were unaware that the Human Defense Initiative had tracked their assaults and forged an answer. The Ghost Ship program had been born for this very threat. Armed warships masked as traders now roamed commerce lanes, luring raiders into overconfidence before striking back. Morrison settled into his chair and studied the tactical grid as crimson marks blossomed across it. 12 Zeparian warships slid steadily into their encirclement, would soon demand their submission. The aliens believed they were moments away from seizing another defenseless freighter and stripping her holds of anything worth taking. Rodriguez caught Morrison's gaze and lifted an eyebrow ever so slightly. Her hand rested casually at her console, yet she was prepared to unleash systems that would turn the Lucky Strike from quarry into hunter within seconds. The shift would be sudden, brutal, and absolute. The trap was nearly sprung. Very soon, the Zephyrians would learn that not every human vessel matched appearances. They would discover that humanity had prepared for just such predators and crafted ways to twist their strategies against them. Out in the void, 12 alien warships closed steadily around what they assumed was weak prey. They had no inkling that they were about to confront something that would shatter their assumptions about human resolve and warcraft. Captain Vexar bared his fangs as his formation tightened around the human freighter. The Lucky Strike drifted between two vast asteroids, precisely where his intelligence briefings predicted she would be. Her signature radiated nothing more than life support and the faint glow of an outdated plasma cannon that seemed unused for years. The Shadow Claw and her 11 escorts encircled their target in a wide arc. Each Zeparian vessel dwarfed the human, ship threefold, bristling with armaments capable of demolishing moons. Their armored hulls glittered with weapons and sensors, engines blazing cobalt light in the void. Lieutenant Koch checked his targeting grid and hissed in mild disdain. The human freighter bore no hint of shielding or defensive capacity. Her patched hull looked crudely repaired with plates hammered on by unskilled hands. Solar collectors dangled like broken wings, and her comms dish was so primitive it likely could not summon help before being vaporized. Navigator Hextor confirmed what all saw. The Lucky Strike was ensnared with no chance of flight. The asteroids penned her in while Zeparian warships sealed every exit. This would be another effortless triumph for the Empire, another demonstration of humanity's weakness for the galaxy to mock. Vexar opened his comm channel and prepared his customary surrender ultimatum. He had recited it dozens of times to trembling human captains, and their reactions never varied. First came denial, then fear, then pathetic bargaining, and finally, submission. Humans to him were predictable, survival valued above dignity or cargo. On the Lucky Strike's bridge, Morrison listened to the alien's transmission with composed anticipation. The Zeparian captain's broken Terran tongue dripped arrogance and contempt. He demanded immediate surrender and threatened annihilation if defied within 60 seconds. Morrison's eyes swept his crew, reading the calm determination in each. Orkani maintained her work at engineering without flinch. Carter monitored frequencies with sharp discipline. Wells finished arranging gear in the medical bay, while Rodriguez kept her hand near hidden fire controls. None resembled terrified merchants awaiting doom. They looked like soldiers awaiting the signal. Morrison keyed his comm and answered with practiced frailty. His voice mixed fear with resignation as he claimed to be a cargo skipper ferrying farming equipment to distant colonies. He pleaded for his crew's safety and vowed compliance. The performance was flawless. Vexar heard precisely what he expected from a cornered human. Pleas and assurances his ship carried nothing but agricultural tools and terraforming gear. Yet some details rang false compared to previous raids. The crew moved with precision, their stations positioned with tactical logic rather than trade routine. Their responses hinted at drilled training, not civilian instinct. Lieutenant Kriax noticed oddities in the ship's energy flow. Any merchant would have cut secondary systems to save power, but the Lucky Strike ran at full output as if energy was plentiful. Her reactor radiated beyond what such a vessel should produce. Hextor scrutinized the tactical readout and frowned. The ship's position in the asteroid belt seemed chance, yet actually granted defensive leverage. The rocks offered cover, and careless fire could risk friendly strikes. The longer Vexar studied the tableau, the greater his unease grew. Reports had promised humans broke swiftly, yet this crew radiated composure alien to ordinary traders. Morrison maintained his facade of fear, all while overseeing hidden preparations. Caney's systems powered up quietly behind false bulkheads and disguised panels. The Lucky Strike's arsenal was buried beneath layers of deception. Wells armed medical protocols designed for battlefield casualties, equipment no trader would ever need. Everything about the ship whispered military operations while keeping up the illusion of ordinary trading routines. Rodriguez finalized diagnostics on weapons. No record admitted existed. Her navigation console was, in truth, a fire control system able to direct salvos that could annihilate entire armadas. The Lucky Strike carried hidden ordnance enough to erase every Zaparian ship in sight. Carter began, more breathtaking than any Zaparian had seen. False plating withdrew with perfect synchronization, revealing concealed armaments. The Lucky Strike's disguise evaporated as stealth fields powered down, unveiling her true form. What once seemed an aged freighter was in fact a state-of-the-art warship. The USS Phantom had hidden in plain sight so convincingly that even close scans had been fooled. Her adaptive skin had imitated a cargo hauler while concealing guns meant to obliterate fleets. Caney surged power through the main core, reactor output spiking to levels that made Zaparian consoles shriek alarms. The fusion heart buried deep. Within her frame drove weapon arrays the aliens had never faced. Energy-flooded conduits once masquerading as freight systems. Rodriguez switched her console, transforming it from helm to battle station, orchestrating strikes across multiple vectors. The Phantom bristled with plasma torpedoes capable of phasing through shielding and quantum disruptors that unraveled matter itself. Her defenses included dynamic barriers that recalibrated against any hostile fire. Wells brought online the electronic warfare suite designed to cripple enemies from within. Her medical computers doubled as intrusion systems able to seize control of hostile networks. In moments, she would twist Zaparian targeting arrays back upon themselves. Ships opened fire on one another instead of the Phantom. Carter brought comm systems to full power, ready to broadcast this battle across the entire settled galaxy. Every world within 50 light years would hear what befell raiders who targeted human ships. The era of viewing mankind as vulnerable. Prey was finished. The Phantom's unveiled profile was sleek and lethal, bristling with weapon systems that jutted like sharpened claws. Her drives blazed with fusion light, while her shields shimmered with adaptive fields strong enough to repel anything the Zephyrians unleashed. She was a predator, masquerading as a victim. Captain Vexar froze in disbelief as his scanners confirmed the impossible change unfolding before him. Targeting computers highlighted batteries no freighter could ever mount. Power analysis indicated a fusion core capable of feeding a war cruiser. Even her hull shifted to an attack stance. On the Shadowclaw's bridge, panic erupted. Lieutenant Kak bellowed alarms about unprecedented weapon profiles, while Navigator Hextor shouted that their formation was disastrously wrong for combat. They had arrayed themselves to cow a traitor, not duel a warship. Morrison's voice cut. Through every channel, transformed. Gone was the mask of fear. His words carried cold authority that chilled the aliens. He named himself Commander Morrison of the Terran Defense Force and declared the Zephyrians had sealed their fate. The Lucky Strike had never been civilian. She was the USS Phantom, operating in deep cover as part of Earth's Ghost Ship program. Her mission to hunt raiders and prove that assaults on human shipping brought annihilation. Rodriguez armed the batteries, and targeting arrays painted every Zephyrian hull at once. The Phantom's combat AI plotted simultaneous firing solutions with ruthless efficiency, ensuring maximum devastation and no survivors to tell the tale. The Zephyrian Empire had built its raiding doctrine on the conviction that humans were cowards. For months they had plundered freighters and grown arrogant, convinced profit outweighed defiance. Reports claimed humanity lacked the will to fight. But those reports were lies, and humanity had prepared precisely for this meeting. The Ghost Ship Initiative was created to turn ambush against the hunters, to reveal unseen guardians lurking along the lanes of trade. Morrison issued his final command, a warning that would echo across the stars. Striking at humans was the last error anyone could commit. Then he gave the order to fire. Battle erupted in blinding light as Rodriguez launched the first wave of quantum torpedoes. They streaked like spears of living energy, ignoring enemy shields entirely. Their phase-shifted warheads detonated inside Zephyrian hulls where nothing could resist. Two cruisers disintegrated instantly, transformed into incandescent clouds of molten debris. Vexar stared in horror as vessels that had stood proud an instant before were erased in white fire, reduced to nothing but drifting wreckage. His sensors, they could not even track wreckage from their fallen ships because the human quantum weapons had reduced them to bare atoms. Lieutenant Cax clawed at his console, desperate to acquire a lock, but the Phantom no longer existed where his scanners swore she should be. Morrison had ordered Kane to divert stealth power into engines and shields. The destroyer surged forward with impossible speed, evading fire as though the laws of physics bent around her hull. She was untouchable, an apparition of war. Her adaptive barrier absorbed rare strikes, while her shifting hull confused every visual system. The Phantom hunted in the void, a predator cloaked in shadow while the Zephyrians fired blind. Hextor's voice cracked warnings as 3 more alien vessels dissolved under molecular assault. Quantum disruptors ripped them apart, while plasma torpedoes, liquefied armor that should have withstood asteroids. Nothing slowed the human onslaught. Wells launched her electronic warfare suite, hurling viruses into the Zephyrian combat network. Their interconnected systems, built to synchronize, now betrayed them. Within seconds, targeting computers flagged allies as enemies, and nav charts plotted suicidal courses into asteroids. Chaos ignited. 2 warships collided head-on, their hulls shattering before breaking against drifting stone. Another opened fire on what it thought was the Phantom, tearing into its own flagship. The Shadow Claw reeled under her own escort's barrage. Vexitar shouted orders, but his command drowned beneath the unraveling storm. The human destroyer carved through his formation like an executioner. Every blast from the Phantom landed true. Every Zephyrian volley flew wide. Carter intercepted alien comms, their panic raw. Captains screamed for aid. Officers barked nonsense, the Empire's elite dissolving into ruin. Red icons winked off Morrison's tactical grid, one after another. The Phantom's core projected victory in 8 minutes. His crew remained untouched, while the once proud fleet vanished into silence. Kane funneled energy into weapons as Rodriguez readied the final strike. The surviving aliens scrambled, trying to regroup, but half fired at ghosts, while the rest tore into allies. The Phantom unleashed her decisive blow. Disruptor beams and quantum torpedoes tore into the Shadow Claw, bypassing shields and gutting her engines. Explosions raged across her decks. The flagship's reactor howled as it spiraled toward overload, klaxons screaming across the dying bridge. Vexatar felt the weight of annihilation crash down, powerless to halt the inevitable. Around him, bulkheads shattered as atmosphere vented violently into space. His crew abandoned their stations, racing for escape pods while flames surged through corridors torn open by human weapons. The jewel of the Zephyrian Navy collapsed like a fragile toy crushed beneath a giant's heel. Wells concluded her digital strike by releasing one last virus that forced every alien ship to broadcast surrender. One by one, Zephyran vessels screamed, their own destruction, pleading for mercy that would never come. Their tactical systems dissolved completely, leaving each vessel isolated against an enemy they could neither track nor comprehend. Rodriguez fired. The final volley closed the Battle of Kepler 442, as historians would eventually name it. Alien ships burst apart in dazzling explosions, igniting the asteroid belt like celebratory fireworks. Shards of metal ricocheted against colossal rocks, while vapor clouds spread slowly into emptiness. In under 10 minutes, 12 warships of the Gyrian Empire were reduced to drifting fragments and subatomic debris. Those who had expected a swift triumph over defenseless human traders instead collided with military ingenuity centuries beyond their reach. Numbers and heavy firepower achieved nothing against human design and cunning. Morrison turned toward his bridge crew, who had just secured the most decisive victory in recorded history. Phantom hadn't suffered a single system failure, and not one human life had been lost. The ghost ship had executed flawlessly, broadcasting a warning destined to echo through known space for generations. Silence lingered only with debris striking asteroids, wreckage falling like metallic snow through the void. Commander Morrison stood firmly on the bridge of USS Phantom, watching displays reveal only emptiness where 12 enemy vessels once prowled. What began as an ambush against a supposed human freighter instead ended in the annihilation of an alien fleet. Carter, stationed at communications, prepared to broadcast a message destined for every relay within 50 light years. Recording. Arrays captured every fragment of the encounter, tactical feeds exposing the swift collapse of Zephyran warships. That data would travel farther and faster than any vessel. Morrison enabled wideband transmitters, his steady voice carrying the weight of one who had disproved the galaxy's assumptions of human weakness. He introduced himself as Commander Jake Morrison, Terran Defense Force, revealing the Lucky Strike had never been a merchant ship, but rather a covert military asset. Cameras recorded Morrison at his post, crew calm and efficient behind him. These were not startled traders who had stumbled into fortune. They were trained soldiers executing flawless strategy designed to project power across the stars. Morrison gestured toward the view screen, which displayed wreckage where the Zephyran fleet once lingered. He explained that alien reliance on intelligence portraying humans as docile. Zephyran Empire would learn of defeat without grasping how it unfolded. Rodriguez secured weapons, resetting her console for navigation. Carter duplicated the battle record, preparing transmissions for every hub in the sector. Civilian and military, channels alike would spread the message, ensuring all factions received the warning. Morrison continued speaking, declaring humanity had no desire for war, but would never accept assaults on colonies or ships. The destruction of Zephyran forces was a response to unprovoked aggression against what aliens assumed was a civilian freighter bound for colonies with farming equipment. Included in the transmission was tactical analysis proving precisely how human weapons bypassed Gyrian shields and armor. The quantum torpedoes phased effortlessly through defensive systems that should have repelled standard weapons collapsed, while the disruptor beams shredded armor at the atomic scale. No defense yet known could withstand those weapons once unleashed. Carter initiated transmission to comm relays scattered across nearby star systems. Within hours, every major government and military force would learn that humanity wielded power far beyond what they had ever revealed. The illusion of human fragility was shattered, replaced with fearsome renown for overwhelming military might. Morrison spoke directly to any who might dare strike human vessels. He warned that ghost ships disguised as merchants now patrolled. Human space and any raid on civilian shipping would end as the Zephyrian fleet had, utterly annihilated. Humanity would respond with unstoppable force. Yet the message also offered peace, cooperation for any species who honored human sovereignty and treated human envoys with respect. Morrison stressed that humanity valued exploration and trade above conflict, but would never hesitate to destroy a threat. The choice of peace or war rested with the galaxy. Wells triggered a final broadcast, looping endlessly from beacons hidden within the asteroid field. Any ship entering would receive records of the engagement, including tactical visuals of 12 alien warships erased by a single human vessel. The site itself stood as monument to human strength. The USS Phantom shifted seamlessly back into the Lucky Strike and resumed her outward course like nothing had occurred. Her hold still carried the agricultural machines declared in her manifest, while her crew resumed civilian guises. Until recalled, the ghost ship would sail on, silent and unseen. Within days, Morrison's words spread to every major power. Some dismissed them as fabrication. Others scrambled to reassess their threat charts. The Zephyrian Empire never recovered from the loss of its proud fleet and abandoned all ambitions of preying on human commerce. More importantly, the galaxy learned the truth. Humanity was no fragile prey. Human ships would never again be seen as soft targets, and the Ghost Ship Initiative expanded further, embedding warships beneath merchant disguises. The reputation born at Kepler 442 shielded human lives and safeguarded trade for generations thereafter.